Just get started here. I was checking out the tape today, and I think we're still in this sort of push me, pull you situation where we're waiting on big economic data and of course, the big earnings, which are coming up in the next couple of days. Today, actually, we're starting with Google. And I've discussed before that Google and Meta often have an interesting Costanza relationship. In the end, it starts out where they usually go the same way on whichever one reports first, and in this instance, Google. So presumably if Google's up, Meta would be up, or presumably if Google's down, Meta would be down the same time, and then do the opposite on their opposite earnings. So if Meta reports, it'll do the opposite of Google on the actual report. That doesn't always work, but it usually does, and it's one I've implemented successfully because usually when it does work, it works kind of in a big way. I was looking at VIX. I don't know that they're going to give up too much more volatility ahead of earnings and ahead of the big economic data. Obviously, we have GDP, PCE, and the jobs report on Friday. And then you guys know, most of you know, how I like to trade the jobs day range. I take the whole day. I do the same thing with the Fed, where I'm long above it, neutral inside of it, and or short below it. So it's usually like the Fed day +1 or jobs day +1. If you want to be Johnny on the spot, what you can do is take that day's VWAP and trade long above it or short below it. And then if we were to cross back over it, you just reverse the position or stop. VIX, I've been using the 19.36, but I'm going to be a little bit tougher here and say 19.10 because that's the 10 MA. And if the bulls, I think, could take that out, I'm going to even put an alert below low of day of 19.06 because I think that could generate a bit of a squeeze. I'd rather actually a lot of these stocks come in to their earnings down for bounce plays, but a lot of them have been rallying, and that kind of muddies the waters a little bit given the fact that we've been in a responsive market and we're not seeing the initiative moves over the old reference highs. JP Morgan has been a case in point for that. It took a lot of days of consolidation, and here it's still backing off again. It can't get up over and stay up over the 225.48, and if anything, today we have another look above and fail. So that to me is a little problematic. I do like the consolidation here, and I wouldn't exactly get too bearish on JPM just yet, but if it can't clear, it can't clear. I was looking at Apple. That's another one I'm sort of was hoping for what I call the shake and bake. I actually invented the shake and bake for Apple, where if it's down into numbers, particularly on reports of crappy iPhone sales, usually the Nikkei Times or one of those comes up with that, and then that sets up for a rip back higher. But here, we're kind of, again, caught between ranges, the 232.92 and the 237.23. So I think my thinking is this, is if we could clear and hold above the 237.23, there could be room to 260s. So I'm kind of thinking if the look above and fail fails, we could go. But, JPM today doesn't have me super confident on that because the look above and fail did fail, and now it failed again to the downside. So if you want to be short JP Morgan against 225.48, I think that's okay. I may actually put on some type of a put spread playing for something like that because I think that's the move no one's really expecting. And, with the VIX this cheap, why not, right? If you bought 220s and sold, let's just say 2 hundos, and that was a key breakout area, that's a $4.17. If you're out in December options, debit, if you did it 1x2, I'm not so keen on 52 days out with 1x2 with the VIX in this situation. You're looking at $2.73 outlay. I, in this instance, would prefer doing the 1-to-1 and maybe selling some upside call spreads as the funding source. Yeah, I'm noticing the same thing, not a big move ahead of Google. I think Google, though, would be the, I've seen it before where Google really does move on earnings, and I've also seen it where Google doesn't move that much on earnings, and it sort of waits until the RTH session to move. By the way, if we were going to do the short the call spread, you could do, this is really a dealer's choice situation here, 230, 240. I don't know that you need to go more than $1 wide, but if you want to tighten it up even more, you could do 230, let's say 230, 235. That's all right, and get it on for $2.37. And then if it starts going your way, maybe roll down the call spread to underneath that 225, further deeper into that 225 neckline. But if it clears, you could always just buy shares. I've been noticing also with the futures, if we have overnight inventory that's usually net short, or if we open up down, after the initial move in the morning, it tends to rally up, and vice versa. If you're up big into the morning, they tend to sell it off. So it's sort of a Costanza play. And I think you almost have people who are playing for the gap fills. There are traders who that's all they do is just play for the gap fills. I had said before, I thought anything over 58.60 quarter could rally, and we did clear it. Qs were the 20,562, but now we're into some resistance here. Anything below 20,66675 is a little iffy. If we were to go just to channel high here, let's say they rip it into the bell, you're looking at 20,713. With regard to Google, similar thing with Apple. We're right up against those 169s. So I think if it were to clear, there's probably room to 178s, which would be the green channel high. And maybe even all the way back up to the 190s eventually. There is a gap fill around 181.54. So what I would suggest doing, particularly if you own shares, maybe put those orders out so that you're first in line, because of course we retail schmucks never get the preference on fills. It's always the institutions. So I would put those orders out there, good till cancel plus extended hours, and look to fill, the 178.77 and 181.54. So, yep, I think that would make some sense. If you want to sell some calls, let's say you're long the just shares of Google, which I know many people are, and they've probably been in it for a while. If you go into the same week expiration, you could sell, let's say, the 180s against it for 2 and change, and if you want to still play for some cream on the upside, maybe buy the 190s. You could get that on pretty decently. Or what I'd actually prefer to do would be to do a diagonal here, or a calendar, where you can sell the same week, because the IV is pumped up to 89 here, and the expected move is $11 and change. You could sell the 180s, and then let's say we go out to December for a year-end rally, and if you wanted to take that to buy the 190s. So I think that would be a great way to lower deltas, and if you did buy the 190s, you could even sell the 200s against it. So, and take in that debit. So you're using your shares to fund it, basically, by selling call premium to buy a call spread for later dated, and you'd be pumping up your trade like that. I actually like that one quite a bit if you're already long. What else did I want to look at? Bitcoin, we've been bulls on the Bitcoin, right? That's been paying out nicely here. We're right where we thought we would be, 72,495. I think you could use that now as a stop. We're actually above the green channel high here. So pullbacks to 72,495, we're talking about futures here, I think is still good. Anything below there, a little iffy. I don't know that I would be buying the dip now unless it held there. Maybe at 70,825. I'm thinking, a lot of people are talking about Bitcoin maybe making a run to 100,000. It would not surprise me. And it's usually with Bitcoin, it's just like a few days that the rally really takes place in, so you kind of have to already be there. We had talked about playing that BITO and GBTC. So yeah, I still like those, but generally I rather would actually play the Bitcoin itself. Same thing with gold. I rather play gold than play, I know a lot of people like to play Coinbase and MicroStrategies, but after you saw what happened with Newmont Mining, it's a little iffy. Gold's still climbing the wall of worry here. Usually what I like with gold, if you didn't catch it early, by the way, we're up on channel high here, so it's probably a good area to trim into. And I would raise stops to either 255.48 VWAP or low of day at 254.23. Technically, today is a little bit of a breakout over the 253.94 high from 10.22, but I don't necessarily know that you need to initiate chases here. But look what happened with Newmont Mining, and it's still going down, right? The rally is just a joke. I mean, it's still below the 100 MA. It still looks like it's coming down to my eye. I had said the 44s, 200 MA is 43.17, and then the 40s. I'm just going to look and see if we could do some kind of a 1/2 put ratio. I don't want to go too far out, and this is what I figured. There would not be any juice. Yeah, I mean, one of my rules of thumb is just don't sell cheap options. I'd rather buy cheap options. So if you want to go out to December and maybe, play for a flyer, Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at this. There's no real juice there. I mean, the 40 puts are 19 cents. So I'd rather just outright buy the 47 halves and maybe wait for it to come down to sell the ratio. So you could use high of day as a stop on that, by the way, 49.11. But I know a lot of people like to do the micro strategies and those things, but I mean, I get it. It's good when the stock is moving, but I'm not such a fan. I'd just rather play the actual commodity. What else did I want to discuss? Breath tier is very middling, 1.89 to 1 negative on the NYSE and 1.17 to 1 positive on the NASDAQ. Ticks, I have to tell you, even with this bounce, look distributive to me on the NYSE. NASDAQ, the same thing, except for the last 30-minute candle closed above water. That was the first one to close above the zero. We're right up against that 500 area in the QQQ. Rising wedge high is right here in the 501, so I'll be curious to see if we can clear those 503s or not. If not, we could just be in this sort of chop zone. There's a lot of room to the apex of the wedge. We know SPY broke below its trend line, but it is more of a consolidation here by time than by price, because we're still in that same price range for the most part. I'd feel better with SPY over the 10MA. We're kind of challenging it here, 581.49. But I think if we lose the 20MA now at this point, 578.12, we're probably going to come down to test the 574s and maybe even a run down at the 565. So if you want to do some kind of a hedge, I was looking at SPY. I always like to do these sort of put ratio plays where I don't have to have a big outlay. So, I mean, 7 days is a little bit aggressive at this point with this low VIX. But if we were to do, I'm just going to see if I could fill anything here. 73, I mean, that's not too bad. So, yeah, I mean, if you buy, I mean, you'd still have to have a $10 drop for that to really make any sense. Do 571, 565, 1 by 2, 7 days out. I mean, it's not too bad. If you want to do something, if you want to do November expiration, the 17 days, 17 DTE, just taking a look at that. Let's say we did 575, 565. And then we'd have to do an overwrite if we wanted to pay for the whole thing around 556, and that would be a 6-cent credit. So that's not too bad. Let me take a look at the, yeah, we know we have some support down there too, right? The 554.87 area was the 8-1 breakout. It's a lot of days. I mean, the last time we had a big drop, it was really 1, 2, 3, 4 big down days. Or 2 big down days with 2 consolidations in there. So, I mean, I don't hate it. I actually think that that's not too bad. So, yeah, I could get down for that. I might actually fill that. Let's take a look. Yeah, I'm good with that. 7 DT is a smaller size because it's not like it's this Friday expiration. If we wanted to do something this Friday, I mean, I don't love it. I mean, I have to tell you with this 19 VIX, because if we have something adverse happen here with the jobs report or something, I mean, you could be down there in a super hurry. So maybe if you want to wait to do a ratio play going further past this week, maybe just do the, all right, so this is what I think we can do here. Maybe the 1 by 1 and not actually do the overwrite. So let me clear that out. Let's say we did go do the 7 DTE. All right, so that would be 5 November. And we did, let's say, 575, 565. So that's $1.40 outlay. I mean, I don't mind that as a hedge against longs. $10, and you give up the first 5 or 6 here. I could get down with that. And then if we were to come down, you could always sell those lower strike puts. If you don't mind doing it now, I don't mind selling something a little bit further out of the money, but smaller size here because we do have those big economic data points coming up. I also outright like hedging longs in, let's say, the Mag 7 names with Q's put spreads. Like 486. Let's see what that could look like if we wanted to hedge up the Qs. let's say we'll stay on the 7 DTE, although maybe we go out. Let's see if we were to go out to November, like if we wanted to have a little bit more to get past the election. So I don't know if you want to buy it right up against what was the last breakout zone? 486. So let's go down there. If we did 486, or let's say 495, 485, and then if you wanted to do the overwrite, you're looking at 475 for a 12-cent credit. I don't love it as much, because I think because the problem is if we get down there and it really is 17 days. Let's see, the last big dump we had was from 822 down to 96. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 12 days. All right. So I guess I'm all right with it. But smaller size, given the fact that we're in 17 DTE, if you want to do 495, 485, 475. So that makes some sense to me. If you aren't comfortable with the overwrite, you could always do the 1x1. If you have margin problems, I know I get these questions sometimes, what happens if I have a margin issue? You could buy something still lower just to cap off that tail risk. So, something nominal, maybe like 430 or 440, I think, could make some sense. I'm just looking at... Let me take a look at this NVIDIA situation here, because I do have some long going on in that. I don't really love that the money flow is starting to roll over here a little. I do like that we're over the 10 MA, and I do like that we're over the 140.76 breakout. If we were to go to channel high tomorrow, which I don't know that we will, it would be 152s, almost 153s. My guess is NVIDIA could move if there's comments on AI from Meta, which there will be, and or Microsoft. My concern, though, is that Copilot is going to disappoint. So that's going to be a big earnings situation with Microsoft. If you want to do some kind of a call spread in Microsoft, playing for like 455, 460, I'm good with that. On the downside, a low of day here has got to be a stop at 425.80. Because that would take you below this zone here is real key at 426.97 to 430.82. So if you wanted to do some kind of a put spread or ratio in Microsoft targeting the 400-ish area as a hedge, I'm good with that. Good with that too. Anyhow, is there any questions? I'm going to look in chat here, because I think I pretty much spoke about what I want to discuss. Maybe we do Tesla quickly, because that's been also a responsive situation. Again, we got up to the 271s, had a look above and fail, and now pulling back. So if we were to do fib to fib analysis, you're looking at 251.95, and then we'd see if that were to fail, the next one is 237. Often what will happen is you hit the 100% retracement, which we know is the 271 from 711. You'll pull back to the 78.6 at 251.95, and then often bounce back higher. So I'd be looking at that. I like that we're actually bouncing here a little early, and this was actually the old up channel that snapped after the 10-10 hammer. So this is kind of key. I think if you lost low of day, you probably have a few smackers down to that 251.95, but that really to me is the real must hold there at the 78.6. And for the bulls, to make the run for the 719 gap fill to 291, I guess they'd overshoot to 300 there. You got to clear 271s. So what shouldn't happen now is we get back up over 271. So I think if we were to clear there, it could make the run. You could do something like a $20 or $30 wide call spread looking for the 300. A little longer dated, obviously. All right, so I think we'll wrap there. But yeah, sorry about that problem earlier with the broadcast. I have this hooked up to this electronic gimbal, and I guess it just wasn't fully charged and it died. I also noticed I wasn't able to save the last one, so I'm going to have to go in and do a screen record there. But this one, hopefully will be a little bit better, and then I'll merge them together and just post the whole file. Hopefully it won't be too disjointed. Anyhow, if you're interested, I've been doing the coaching sessions a little bit. And they've been really beneficial. I think a lot of people have liked them. If you're interested, just DM me. I don't have a lot of room for them left, but I do have some. It's $100 an hour, and we can help level you up, or if you need help with whatever you have on existingly, if you have any troubles, we can work through that as well. I have clients who do both. My only concern is sometimes people get to me when it's really late after they've had problems, but usually there is some salvage at the very least. So that's something that I'm offering, at least for a limited time here. I also have a DM service. I don't really advertise that much. That's where you can DM me, and we do a weekly or monthly call. There are different levels of that. If you're interested in that, you could message me about that as well. But I think coming into this economic data and earnings season, if you have any of these plays on and you want to talk about hedging or how to maximize gains on them, that could be a good discussion. We discussed a lot of those strategies today as well, but there are some more. Anyhow, we'll wrap there. Have a great rest of your day, and I will be doing the the midweek video tonight. Everyone's looking forward to the weekend. I'm doing the midweek video tonight. If you have any requests, just either DM them to me, or you could send them to just reply to the broadcast.